Welcome to the Sigma Product Knowledge Series. Today we will cover tractor units. Now tractor units, as you can see this Volvo here, can be hitched onto trailers, all types of trailers, for instance a plant trailer like you've got here, or a tank trailer, box trailer, fridge trailer, all types of trailers can be hitched onto tractors. A lot of aspects on a tractor unit are similar to a car. The red and white bit at the bottom of the cab is a bumper. Above that you've got the grille, which flips up to allow you access to check the water and oil levels. Above that you've got the windscreen wipers, mirrors on each side, the sun visor above the windscreen. At the top of the cab there, this is a high cab tractor unit. At the top of the cab you've got the light bar with the spotlights on. On top of the cab, behind the spotlights, you've got a flashing beacon. Down on the side of the truck you've got the fuel tank. This is a 3-axle tractor unit. Each side of the spots at the front you've got the headlights, indicators, similar to the way a car works. This is another type of tractor unit. It's a Mercedes tractor unit instead of the Volvo one we've just seen. This again is a 3-axle tractor unit. We would term this a 6x2 tractor unit because it has got 6 wheels or 6 sets of wheels, of which 2 are driving. Now the front 2 wheels, the wheels underneath the cab, the wheels on the front axle, they are steering. The back 2 drive on this one. You know they drive because the hub goes in. The middle set of wheels, the middle axle, is not driving, it's a mid-lift, which is where the axle lifts up when the truck is not loaded to reduce tyre wear. You can tell that even when the axle is dropped, because the hub on the axle goes out. It means it's not driven, similar to the front steering axle. Now this is a sleeper cab. It's a sleeper cab because it's got room in the cab behind the window. It's got air deflection kits. Other than that, it is very similar to the one we've just seen. Another picture of the rear of the same tractor unit. You can see the 5th wheel, which is the coupling to the trailer. You'll see those curly wires at the back, which are the SUSIs, which connect the services from the tractor unit under the trailer. For instance, air for the brakes, electrics for the lights, indicators. This is another picture. This is a day cab tractor unit instead of the sleeper. The back of the cab finishes at the back of the driver and passenger seats. This again is a mid-lift truck. It's a 400. You can just see on the front grille there it's a 400, which means it's a 400 horse. Now this is a P cab, which means it's the low cab. This next one is an R cab, which means it's got a bit of extra height on the cab there, just above the windscreen and window. Other than that, this is the same configuration as the ones you've already seen. This is an R cab again. It's an R420, which means it's a 420 horsepower engine, but this is a top line cab on the Scania. It means it's got double height or extra height, and this is a sleeper, and you'll be able to get 2 bunks in here. They'll be already fitted in. We'll show some pictures of that later. This again is a 6x2 mid-lift because there's 6 sets of wheels and only 2 of those are driving. This is an MAN low cab. This again has got the mid-lift axle. This is probably a fuel tanker spec. We'll cover this again later, but it's got the skinny mid-lift, which is only a single wheel on the mid-lift axle. Now this is what we call a 6x4 tractor because it's a 6-wheel tractor, but both of the back axles are driving. So 4 sets of wheels are driving, which means it's a 6x4. Again, it's got the 5th wheel, the SUSIs, the red box at the back there is a fire extinguisher box. This is another larger heavy haulage tractor unit. It's an 8x4. The front axle is steering, The second axle back is a lift axle. You can see that lift. The back two axles are driving because the hubs go in, and this, we would refer to this tracked unit as an 8x4. It's got the high top line cab. You can see written up there on the side, just to the back at the top of the cab, on the air deflector, it's a V8, 580 horse. This is a picture of inside a tracked unit. You've got the driver and passenger seats. This is obviously a right-hand drive truck. If we're buying from Europe, normally it would be a left-hand drive truck. And behind the seats you've got the first bunk. This does not have a gear stick, which means it is an automatic truck. This is a photograph from the driver's side. Again, no gear stick. You can see the driver's seats, the steering wheel, similar to a car. This is where you read the mileage. It's on one of the gauges in front of the steering wheel, just the same as a car. It's done 316,000 kilometers. The mileage on trucks is referred to as mileage, but actually is kilometers. This is the rear of a tracked unit. Between the wheels you can see the two black cylinders. They are airbags, which means it's got air suspension on the rear. Normally trucks have steel suspension underneath the cab and either steel or air suspension on the rear. Steel is normally only used on heavy haul tracked units. This shows the steel leaf springs. So this truck has got steel suspension on the rear. Steel is often preferred in Africa, places like that, because where they've got poor roads, stones sometimes get stuck in next to the airbag and wear a hole in the bag. It obviously doesn't happen with the steel leaves. This is a picture of an ERF tracked unit. MAN bought out ERF and built them for a few years with the MAN cab. So this is an MAN cab. They then stopped producing the ERF in about 2007-2008 and moved everything under the MAN brand. This is the rear of the same truck. This is a fuel tanker spec. Behind the cab, where the engine is, it's got like a steel shield which is designed to prevent any sparks. This is part of ADR spec, which is for fuel tankers. This is a typical fuel tanker spec truck with the low cab and the skinny midlift. And the ADR spec trucks, they're typically very nice. They've got a lot of isolators on them to prevent any risk of any fire. This again is a 6x2 midlift. If the lift axle was at the back behind the drive axle, we would refer to that as a tag. This is a DAF CF85 tracked unit, 6x2 midlift, low cab, air deflector on the roof. This again is a DAF, but it's the larger cab, it's a 95 XF. They do smaller cabs such as 75, 65, 55, but for the smaller cabs they're mainly used on small rigid trucks. This shows the model numbers for Mercedes. The first two numbers on Mercedes tell you what the gross weight of the vehicle is. So this is 25, so it'll be 25 tons or 26 tons because it's a six-wheeler. The 46 tells you the horsepower, so 460 horse. Again, this is 2655, so it's a 26-ton chassis tracked unit with 55 means that it's a 550 horsepower. This is a Renault Premium. It's got a high cab, it's got air deflectors, it's a 6x2. This is a Volvo F8 tracked unit. It's got the high cab. You can tell that because there is a stretch of blue panel between the grille and the windscreen. The FM does not have that. It's got the light bar, the flashing beacons, got the air deflectors. It's a 6x2. This truck is an FM. FM12, FM13 are the the number gives you the engine size. For instance, this is a 12 litre. FH follows the same rule. If it's an FH12, then it's a 12 litre engine. FH16, it's a 16 litre, and so on. This, as you can see, is a much lower cab. Truck manufacturers tend to have a small cab and a large cab. Mercedes, the small cab is an Axle, large cab is an Actros. DAF, you've got the small cab, which is the 75 or 85, and then the large cab is the 95. This is a 6x2 FM12 tracked unit, mid-lift, sleeper cab. Thanks for listening.